This podcast was recorded during the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes. Without the labor of the writers and actors currently on strike, Wonka and a lot of the other things we cover on this podcast wouldn't exist.
Hey, Stu.
Yeah?
You wanna take a little bet with me?
Oh, I don't know, Joe. I only get paid in pennies and coffees over here. I don't have much to offer right now.
Oh, pennies? No, it doesn't matter. You don't have to bet anything big. Trust me. Just something insignificant. Something that doesn't mean a lot to you. Here's what I'm gonna do. Okay. You see over here? I got this little home movie.
Yeah?
Not that kind of home movie.
Oh.
But it's got that old broad Roald Dahl in it.
Oh, I love that name. Whoa,
what
happened? What happened? Whoa, I hear Texas again. Joe,
Whoa, there's
we need to...
Now
Joe. Joe, we need to get the hush puppies out of the commissary, Stu. Joe, I forgot my name.
Wait, Linguini. Gabagool.
Gabagool. Tony
Gabagool.
Soprano.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So hear me out now here, kiddo. I'm gonna offer you something that could be life-changing, okay?
Yeah?
I'm gonna offer you my Kia Forte. It's
wow.
a lovely car. It's from 2015. A glorious year, if you recall. How old were you in 2015?
I was 12.
Fuck. Take a nice look at this Kia Forte. And if you win the bet, you can take it. You can take this beautiful 2015 Kia Forte. I just got new cars for it, Stu. Now, you just said
live in New York, so I don't know if that carries the value, but
hey, what if I told you the trunk has a bunch of gold in it?
Okay.
I don't have the keys right now.
I'm in again, Joe.
There you go, a Kia Forte full of gold. That's something. Now, all you gotta do is if you can count to 12 without missing a number.
I feel like I can do that.
You get the Kia Forte.
If I can count to 12 without going southern, I get a Kia Forte.
If you can count to 12 without going southern, you get the Kia Forte with gold in the trunk. But if you don't, there, Stu, you have to drop the U in your name for the rest of your life.
So I'll just
you know what that would make you?
Oh, shit.
No, it's an insignificant thing. It's one letter. Your name's got 3 letters. It ain't much.
Get my...
If you don't think about it too hard, it's a pretty good
I'd have to get my driver's license changed, Joe.
Yeah, but you just said you live in New York. Who cares?
I gotta go through the common courts.
Hey, since when do we follow the law, Stu? We're movie producers. We don't give a fuck.
I don't have shit to do. Let's give it a shot. Because now, in canon, if I fuck this up, Stu is gonna be stuck.
Here we go.
No, stuck.
Okay, if you don't mind though, I'm gonna tie your hands behind your back, and I am gonna talk like this now for the rest of you trying to do this.
Make it harder.
I'm gonna make it a little harder.
Gabagool.
I never said it would.
Gabagool.
Okay,
Tony
here you go.
Soprano.
Count to 12.
Gabagool, Tony Soprano. Gabagool.
Good luck, y'all.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Doing great.
7. Gabagool. 8. 9.
Oh, we live it so much. Oh man, grits
Gabagool,
and bacon.
Tony Soprano. Gabagool.
Yeah, y'all.
11.
Well, it's a real bummer for you. I'm gonna now it's a real bummer too, because that Kia Forte ain't even mine, but I'm, I'm gonna walk away knowing that I ruined your life. And that's something I love this. So, you enjoy. Here's some dry linguine. I'm out.
Thanks.
God, the stress and the fact that it happened.
You guys don't even need to watch the episode of Tales of the Unexpected. We just did it.
You just
we
did
just
it.
did it.
If anything, a better version. So.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wonka Watch. This is, believe it or not, a podcast about Willy Wonka. And if this is your first one, I'm so sorry.
Ooh.
That was our Broadway producer characters, Joe and Stu. They've been here for a while. on and off, only recently got named. They're not that relevant to this. This is the podcast where we talk about everything Wonka. I'm your host, Felicia.
And I'm the host, Elaine.
And today we're diving into Roald Dahl's Tales of the Unexpected. This is barely Wonka related, but honestly it's just because Roald Dahl hosted a fucking TV show, and you guys remember how pissed he was about TV in his book, and I just think it's rich, okay? I just think it's a lot.
Also a wild ride.
It's a wild ride, 22-minute episode adaptations of his short stories. So we're going to do that, and we're watching one today because... Look, there's not much left to cover, guys. We've done a lot. We've covered a lot.
We are truly counting down to the prequel.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel.
The well is getting a little dry, as they may say.
Stu's gonna go over. Well, I don't know. I know this doesn't make sense.
Excuse you. It's
That's gonna sound so awful on the audio. I feel like stu's better because there's at least something there.
Yeah.
Even though that doesn't make sense. Stu goes over to the common courts to get his name changed legally to Stu. And the judge rules, your name is now Stu. I don't know how this works. And he says, but also, here's some Wonka Watch news on your way out the door.
Must have been one of those BOGO days where if you get a new name,
here's what it is.
You get some free Wonka news.
No, I got it better. He's sitting he's waiting in the waiting room to get into the court. And there's a magazine rack to the side, and what's on there? It's some Wonka news in the form of the Total Film September issue, bitch. That's right. I learned how to read it. Whoa. I knew how to read already. I knew how to read already.
Wonka Watch is bringing so much good into the world, including literacy. Makes me so happy.
So I ended up reading this through Magster, which is like an online magazine reader. So I found a way to read it because I did not want to pay $14 for this in person.
Fair.
So this is like a 5-page article, and so far I think this is the most thorough write-up anyone's done of it, so you're welcome, guys. I do recommend reading it because I did cut out a lot of details that aren't relevant to us on the podcast, but it's a lot of stuff, and this is going to take a little bit, so get excited. We got some real news for realsies. So the article is titled Candyman, written by Jane Crowther. The first piece of information we learn is that Keegan-Michael Key is the police chief. Okay, he's not just a policeman, he's a police chief.
Okay.
So Paul King said he was attracted to the grotesque, comedic, and Dickensian characters and deep emotional satisfaction of the original novel. Which I don't know where he's getting that. I mean, power to him for finding it in there. Yeah. He said, it's got an extraordinary backbone and this very, very moving story. I'd expected it to be funny, grotesque, and ridiculous and have all the verbal fireworks you expect with Dahl, but I hadn't expected to burst into tears at the end when Charlie inherits the chocolate factory. Yeah,
okay.
I mean,
We
I
all
did
have
the
our own
math
journeys. It's
yesterday
fine.
on how many times we've gone through the same plot for this podcast, and
Oh,
it's on
God.
12 or 13 now.
That's
so
too much in 2 years,
Yeah,
that's
we're,
a lot.
We're jaded by it at this point.
Yeah.
And if you count the commentary track rewatches, it's up to 15. It's
God, I was
bad,
that's
guys.
once every 2 months at least.
He said that working on Paddington not going well gave him the confidence to tackle Wonka, especially because you have so much to draw from of all the movies and the novels. And he said, you're standing on the shoulders of giants. Yeah, it's further to fall, but you might reach the stars.
Oh my God.
He used the book as his main guidance, but takes inspiration visually and the soul of Willy Wonka from Gene. So he intended to make it that the films don't contradict each other, so it's not technically Gene Wonka origin, but you can watch it that way if you want, is the understanding.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's not a 1-to-1, but he's also trying to make it not one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
There was a slight aside within the story that was Sweet Dreams onset chocolatier Gabriella Cugno talks eye candy. She said she made over 900 hover chalks. They were made of 4 different parts, 2 wings, over 20 holes in the hover chalk, and 30 dots. And she said some chocolates she was only able to make around 30 of because how long they took to make. But we do have some images in the document that we've never seen before.
Ooh.
This is Sally Hawkins on a little tiny steam-powered boat.
Steamboat.
I don't think we have a prediction that would work for this.
I don't even know where to...
What the context could even be for this, I'm not sure. This is a picture of Rowan Atkinson as the priest again. I feel like we've seen stuff like this, but it's just another shot of him. He's using a telephone. Wait,
Right at the pulpit.
I said someone would use a telephone. Did I say it was wall-mounted, though? I think I might have said it was wall-mounted.
You might have said wall-mounted.
I'm gonna look. Okay, first I'm looking for boat. Simon Farnaby will steal a boat. That was me. No. Someone rides in a comically small boat.
That might be...
That might
I
be...
guess we'll have to
don't
see
wanna
what
call it yet.
comically...
Yeah.
We'll have to see what...
I said I hope it's Keegan-Michael Key. Okay, telephone. I believe it is wall-mounted. Wonka will use a wall-mounted telephone, and there will be a split screen between him and the other person talking. Okay, so now...
This at least makes it closer, though, that we've seen telephones in general.
Yes.
So...
The last photo, which is the most important because this reveals an important character name and the specific occupation of someone.
Oh, God.
We have Olivia Colman and Tom Davis as half of the evil laundrette duo Scrub It and Bleach It.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Scrub It and Bleacher. I can already... Scrub It, Bleacher. There you go. That's how you know it's good.
And now I can say Olivia Colman is some old rich lady that gives Wonka his first big break. Probably not evil from me is completely wrong.
Ah, bummer.
All of our Olivia Colman ones, I think, are wrong now.
Yeah.
So, those are our images there. Then we start to talk a lot about the songs. Paul King says, the Oompa Loompas sing a lot in the book, and Dahl always uses poetry, but I didn't want it to just become a musical where people are singing dialogue to each other for no discernible reason. I felt like it was more like a movie with songs than a musical. So, a musical. But that is how I feel about the 1971 movie.
I was going to say, that is the exact explanation we had for 1971, so...
Yeah, I think it's a movie with songs. I don't think it's a musical, genuinely. Yeah. He talked to Neil Hannon, the songwriter, and him and King met over Zoom and figured out ideas, and Neil Hannon set about writing a sad ballad or two. And I quote, some real extra rambunctious, like a chitty chitty bang bang kind of song. So it was worth watching, Elaine. It was worth it.
It was worth it. Ha.
It was worth it.
Wow, that actually makes me feel a lot better.
There's a sad ballad or two. We're going to have to listen to 2 sad ballads. I'm not excited about that.
We all know Noodle's going to have one, right?
Yeah, and Willie's going to have one, too. And also, I forgot about this, how Paul King seems to be incapable of describing anything with less than 3 adjectives.
Right.
Paul King says Neil Hannon's lyrics are funny and classical, but with a modern element. So, keeping it up. So we're talking about pre-Willie. And this talks about Tom Holland versus Timothy Chalamet. He wanted someone who could portray the hope that came before the cynicism of Wilder. And Tom Holland ended up as the lead in Paul King's Fred Astaire biopic. So it all kind of came out in the wash anyway.
Okay.
Which was interesting. And that makes more sense to me. Because imagine that casting reversed. Bad.
Yes. Yeah. Fred Astaire,
here we go.
Huge dancer, I think.
I have a list of adjectives and descriptors used by David Heyman, the producer for Chalamet.
Oh my God.
Eminently likable, twinkle in eye, sensitive, can handle drama, comedy, and emotion, voice of an angel, truth to performances, warm, really tender, but also hip.
Really tender.
Why are they talking about like a brand identity? This is what it feels like. King says, this is different than what we've seen from Timmy. He says, here we go, here's another list. Incredibly present, extraordinarily precise, can sing and dance, is funny, slightly unknowable, manic kind of strangeness.
Slightly unknowable, manic kind of strangeness.
And that's just talking about him as a person.
Yeah.
That's not talking about him as Wonka, I want to be clear. That was talking about Timothy Chalamet as a person. And then King says, what is perhaps the biggest swing of the article, some wonderful, wonderful actors have played Willie, but he is my favorite.
Whoa.
He is my favorite.
Whoa. I mean, I guess he wouldn't say otherwise.
Yeah.
But he also wouldn't have to, he didn't have to say that at all. You know,
I don't know if it necessarily. I'm glad that he thinks it's his favorite. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's not our favorite, it's his.
Exactly. And his favorite also for the script, like, you know, he wrote, like, yes, that
makes sense.
That makes sense.
Paul King is like a Timothy Chalamet fanboy, like no joke.
I was going to ask. I'm getting a lot of.
Yeah,
I'm getting a lot of...
He says, Chalamet's got a beautiful singing voice. The person it reminded me of was Bing Crosby. There's quite a range, because it does go from like a couple bigger showstoppery sort of things to moments of pure, real emotion, and he can do it all. I'm gonna sound like a crazed fan.
Yeah,
that's what he wrote.
I want to know what the writer had to cut out of this interview. Like, I want to see like the 5 deleted pages of just...
Yeah, so this is the part of the interview that we're gonna have to talk about, and we're gonna have to go through together. Because when I read this, my soul leaked out of my body and my stomach dropped. I want to be clear.
Oh my God. Let me have water. Hold on.
Yeah. So it was discussing how King was thrown by how people were tracking the fillings, essentially doing a soft stalk of Timothy Chalamet. Okay?
Okay.
So we have the quote here, and it mentioned how fans facilitated by the social media info swap known as Wonka Watch, fans seem to come up to know wherever they shot. Which is true. It was called that by about 2 people. But if you Google Wonka Watch, they use the capitalizations, we come up, okay? Immediately. I came up with the name before I knew about the stalking, so it's not like it does. But this is talking about stalking fans specifically. And then Alexis Derbyshire, producer of the movie, says, "We managed to get Timmy in and out, and it didn't impact us too badly. It was slightly like the Beatles at times. I'm not sure a film entirely on location would have been easy because Wonka Watch would have got us." Okay. So I don't think they're talking about us.
No,
but
honestly,
how fucking mean of this to talk about us in name but not be about us. I said number 2, if we have become synonymous with the Timmy Pandem for production, I cannot think of a worse outcome for us.
I know.
If it is somehow the producer talking about how we could have leaked information from filming on site, that would be fucking hilarious, though.
That would be...
If the producer was actually talking about us because we would have leaked too much information because Wonka Watch would have gotten us, is the funniest shit possible.
So fucking funny.
My theory for what happened is the interviewer used the words Wonka Watch to them, and they repeated it. That makes more sense to me.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
So fucking funny. That does mean, like, SEO wise too, like, we could pop up more to people who are like really involved in like article stuff.
Wonka Watch is the first thing that comes up. If you search up Wonka Watch, you get a little
like,
pop-up that's like the podcast Wonka Watch. You know, like we have a little Google thing.
I also feel slightly nauseous and elated and fucking hilarious, but
Reading
you're right. That the worst thing that
the words Wonka Watch. The worst thing that could happen is they think we're stalkers. That actually terrified me. I was like, don't put this bad shit in their mouth.
I'm like, don't make no.
Don't associate us with us. This is different.
We're bitter.
If anything, we tolerate Timmy. We don't feel
truly. Yeah.
But I do genuinely think though after this, one of these magazine articles is gonna do a Google and find us one time.
Oh my
it's
God.
gonna happen. I feel like it's gotta. Because if you search up
It
Wonka
has
Watch
to.
now, we're the first thing that comes up
I was
immediately.
gonna say, if this becomes like a big thing people talk about and they use that term, like, boom, hi.
We better. If we get fucking washed out, I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be so mad.
If Wonka Watch as a term, like, and again, it's for sure, it's fair. It's 2 W's. It's totally fair someone else would think of it. But if we just get eliminated after 2 years,
I know. I was like,
I will be
it was such a, I had to like take a lap around the house. I'm not joking. I was like, holy fucking shit.
I feel weird right now.
Reading that in print in a magazine, when I got there, I saw the words Wonka Watch. I was like, what the fuck? And you have to spend 10 minutes processing, this isn't about us, but it's saying our name. You know what I mean?
And you could almost, aside from like the Timmy stalking, whatever, you, in some parts of that sentence, it could still work referring to our podcast.
If it was about the podcast, I'm not sure a film entirely on location would have been easy because Wonka Watch would have gotten us. It still makes sense.
That is
and if that was about us, I would have that framed on a t-shirt. That's something
I would
about
too.
Us.
And then I'd be like, how the fuck? And then can you imagine if they all casually knew about us and we're just like this silly joke in the coffee break room?
I feel like we're gonna be.
I would honestly, that would be ideal. Like,
that's how I want it to be. They
don't have to personally know us too much, but if we're just like this side weird joke to them,
here's the thing.
Sure, that's ideal.
I have complicated feelings about Wonka and everything, but if Wonka 2 gets made and we do not have a cameo,
okay, that's personal. Yeah, if
that's
we don't get
personal.
a cameo.
If we are not shop goers, we don't need a line. Just put us as an extra, a featured extra.
Yeah. We can even be the voice of like a flamingo.
I actually don't want to meet anyone in the film. I don't want to meet anyone in production. I don't need to meet Paul King. I don't want to meet Paul King. I don't want to meet Timothy Chalamet. I don't give a shit. I just want to be on film, on record in one of these Wonka-related properties, so that when people make a fucking Wonka iceberg on YouTube, we have to be included. We legally are required to be included.
Donuts on set.
Call me bitter. I am.
Yes.
I understand why people gatekeep things now.
Yes.
Anyway, okay.
Wow, that was so much.
Moving on from that, here's a photo of our main villain squad.
Oh, I'm so excited.
He's just kind of sitting in a chair.
Oh, nice. Fecal Gruber.
Bittersweet was the title of this little section. Plot, these are the main villains. You have Fickle Gruber, Slugworth and Proudnose, Scrub It, Olivia Colman, and Bleach It, Tom Davis, and then Keegan-Michael Key, who is just kind of inept at his job. Like, he's just really shit at his job and way more interested in the chocolate than anything else. So that's his character.
Nice.
So now we're talking about the Oompa Loompa stuff.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Says by here, angered by Wonka taking a key ingredient from them in Lupaland, a furious Oompa Loompa, Hugh Grant, tracks him to his lodges to settle things. Paul King says, the voice and the attitude of the Oompa Loompa came from revisiting the books. Long songs full of humor, sarcasm, superiority, and scorn. So it was really just thinking about the character, someone who can be a real shit, and I went, Hugh Grant. Because he's the funniest, most sarcastic shit I've ever met. He'd been there before with Paddington 2. I had to write him this awkward letter saying, you're good at playing washed up old hams.
Washed up old hams.
So Grant signed up, and though digitally created by Framestore, was physically on set for all his scenes so that he and Chalamet could rehearse and find an organic rhythm to their banter. Okay, so we're talking about Noodle. She is an orphan. She is an ally to Wonka. King says Dahl delights in double acts. I wrote, does he? I don't think he does. I've never noticed that, and I don't think so, but it's fine. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't read his whole oeuvre, but I don't know. I've never considered any of them a double act.
Yeah.
She's very much an old head on wise shoulders. And Calla Lane auditioned for the role when the project was called Nutmeg and Johnny. That was the secret project name.
No.
Nutmeg and Johnny.
I'm sorry. Are these now two characters for us? Hey there, Nutmeg.
We can play Nutmeg and Johnny in the sequel.
I'm in
drag. I'm in drag and Wonka 2 as we're in drag as Nutmeg and Johnny.
Me in drag as Johnny is the most depressing thing I've ever had. Hi, I'm Johnny. Welcome to Best Buy.
I was gonna be Johnny. I was gonna be Johnny.
So I can be
Johnny
Nutmeg?
from you. Yeah,
because I have a whole vision. Oh my gosh, thank you. Even though I'm still like pissed about all the nut jokes that happened in the joke episode that we recently did, it's fine. I can move past it.
Hard nut to crack. All right, now we're into the sequel stuff, which there were posts talking about this early doors. And I always saw this, and I got an email in my inbox like, a director would like to do a sequel, and I just was like, no. And here's the thing. If that happens, we will not do this all again. I want to be clear to you guys.
Yes.
You will get Wonka Watch for like 3 months if we get a sequel. We're not doing this all again.
Yeah.
Paul King says, I would definitely like to do more, and I'd like to spend more time in the world. Dahl was definitely interested in taking Willie on. There's drops that really didn't go anywhere, and there's a short story. He didn't really write sequels, but this was the one book he clearly felt there was more in the tank there. There's an awful lot more Wonka than the story that we would like to tell. It's not like Dune Part 1 where you go, this is what's happening in Part 2. Hopefully it works exquisitely as a standalone movie, but I would really like to do more. And I'd also like to spend more time in the world and meet some more Oompa Loompas. So there we go.
Oh, man.
So here's the thing. I feel like we learned like 2 things from that. It was good information. I'm glad to have a nice big bit of Wonka Watch news, but the Wonka Watch part of that really did throw me off. Threw me off.
I am still unsettled. Yeah, like my arms feel light.
Well, after all that, what an interesting episode. I feel like we got through that in record time. I feel proud of us, and I feel like I'm ready to bounce back and talk about Roald Dahl's Tales of the Unexpected.
Oh my god.
I kind of had a great time watching this, even though I also hated it. I hated it, but I loved it. I don't know.
I genuinely got really stressed. So
I was just laughing.
That checks out for us.
Let's get a bit of background. This is from Wikipedia. I wasn't going through primary sources. I'm tired. Tales of the Unexpected is a British television series that aired between 1979 and 1988. Each episode told a story often with a sinister and rarely comedic undertones with an unexpected twist ending. Every episode of Series 1, 12 episodes of Series 2, 2 episodes of Series 3, and 2 episodes of Series 4, and 1 from Series 9 were based on stories by Roald Dahl collected in the book Tales of the Unexpected, Kiss Kiss, and Someone Like You.
I thought you personally thought it'd be silly at the end of like the Tales of the Twist. What is it?
Unexpected.
Tales of the Unexpected. Kiss kiss. I thought you were just saying that.
I would have loved that. That would have been way funnier.
Kiss
if
kiss.
I did. I also learned Dahl hosted a similar series for the American CBS network called Way Out in 1961. It was similar in concept and themes to The Twilight Zone and ran for 14 episodes. Then I clicked on that article. Way Out is a 1961 American horror, fantasy, and science fiction television anthology series. The macabre black and white 25-minute shows were introduced by Dahl, his face projected in a disconcerting Hall of Mirrors effect, dryly delivering a brief introductory monologue expounding on such unusual subjects as undertakers or frogs or murdering a romantic rival with ground tiger's whiskers. Only one was based on one of his stories.
What? Ground tiger whiskers? Did I hear that right? Like ground up tiger whiskers?
Yeah.
How do you kill someone with that and why? That's so expensive and wrong. I just imagine some zookeeper who's like, oh, another one has fallen. And like puts it in their jar. Like, I don't. Okay.
We watched episode 1, The Man from the South, which is also the highest rated episode from season 1.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe it's because the only ones people watch.
People watch?
Yeah. So Man from the South is a short story by Roald Dahl, originally published as collector's item in Collier's in September 1948. It has been adapted several times for television and film, including a version that aired as an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, starring Steve McQueen, Neil Adams, and Peter Lorre. So if we want to get deep into the Man from the South lore, we can go to Alfred Hitchcock Presents. But this show starts off with some of the most insane intro music, and I'm going to play you guys the music so I can just give you the vibe that you start this with.
Imagine somebody dancing with a weird silhouette.
A lot of dancing in silhouette over, she dances in front of a roulette wheel, a close-up of a gun. She dances in front of some fire, a weird lion emblem, and then a doll, and then a bunch of skulls.
But it's not like scary.
No, it's not. It's like
I'm not like stressed. It just felt like weird. Like it was just weird, and like I don't know. I was like, this seems too happy. Like,
yeah,
I feel like I'm about to watch like Full House goes to Hawaii or something. Like that's kind of what it gave. It's like Roald Dahl is kind of in like a Mr. Rogers sort of get up. He's in this like leather recliner, but he's right by a fireplace, and it was kind of giving the energy that he had just burned letters that would have like incriminated him right in the fire, and then he's like, oh, hello, welcome to my den.
Yeah, and then there's a part, he's also using his little green writing desk that we've talked about on here.
Yes.
Which I was like, oh, one for the doll heads.
There it is.
I ought to warn you, if you haven't read any of my stories, that you may be a little disturbed by some of the things that happen in them. When I'm writing a short story, I'm haunted by the thought that I've got to hold the reader's attention for literally every second, otherwise I'm dead. The one you're going to see now is the first of a series based on stories that have taken me 35 years to write. I find them difficult to do well, so I work slowly, about 2 a year. This one was filmed in its real setting, Jamaica. I hope you like it.
Oh, and then he goes, I hope you like it. It's like almost, he's like almost shy about it. Like, I hope you like it. And then you get this fucking insane, like, island music that comes in immediately after he says, I hope you like it.
It reminds me of, like, the way, was it PBS? Had to be PBS. Would do, like, a weird intro into Downton Abbey where they'd be like, so in 1919, this was the state of affairs over in England. You know, and, like, kind of, and, like, you know, for Downton Abbey, tonally, it kind of fit. This, tonally, his intro does not really add to any of the tensity.
It didn't need to be here. It was literally 30 seconds long. They had him there for 20 minutes at most.
I don't think it really added much to the whatever, because the whole video seems like a horrible sex ed video you would have to watch in school. Like, that's the quality, I would argue, that this episode has.
So the actual episode starts with a vacationer watching some people in the water, and this swanky old guy comes up with a cool hat and cane, and he goes, excuse me, please, do I have permission to sit here? And it sounded posh at first, but it was not that later on. He's like some sort of like European Spanish accent.
Yeah, he looks like Colonel Sanders a bit.
I looked it up. The guy who played him is like one of the most was a very successful actor, like one of the most successful actors, Puerto Rican actors of like the era of like the last 40 years. And I will say he was the light of this.
He was.
It was an odd performance,
he was the best,
but it was the best part of this.
Yes.
So the guy is like, do you know who the people in the water are? And he's like, yes, I believe they're medical sailing students, which never comes back.
Never comes back. Also, they're in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Not relevant. Not relevant to any of this story.
Well, I mean, it does become relevant, but it's stupid why it's relevant.
Yeah, it's stupid relevant. Yeah.
And then they're like playing. They're all like in their mid-20s, I would say, but they're like screaming in terror while they're doing it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're like roughhousing in the water. So one girl gets out of the water, and she's Cassie, and then this guy comes out of the water, and they introduce themselves to each other, and he was like absolutely fucking dunking her into the water, and I'm like, they did not know each other.
Yeah, that was unrealistic.
So it's Tommy, and Tommy's the main character of this, which is not clear until about 8 minutes in. And also
of this
he did
22-minute
of this 22-minute video,
which 1 minute was rolled. So just, you know.
So the old fancy guy said his wife forced him to go on vacation, and Cassie and Tommy take a chair from the old dude's table and sit near them. And Tommy offers to light the old fancy guy's cigarette, and he's like, bitch, that'll never work. And Tommy says, of course it will. It's American, you idiot.
He's like, it's too breezy. There's too much of a gust, a wind. It'll blow out.
Yeah, fancy old guy's like, oh, really? So it never fails. And he's like, yeah, no, it's pretty good. And then the fancy guy's like, well, let's see about this. Would you make a bet on it?
God.
So he's like, yeah, sure, I like betting. And the fancy guy's like, well, how about we do a big bet? And then Tommy immediately is like, I can do $5 or $10. He's like, well, hold on now. Fair. I'm not sure about that, mister. And Tommy in this is played by, he was very familiar to me the whole time, and I couldn't recognize him until I realized, I looked it up, and it is the guy who plays Harry Truman in Twin Peaks, which was wild for me. And it is funny because his acting isn't actually that different in Twin Peaks, but it's good in Twin Peaks.
That's
hilarious. The same, but environmentally it's good. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how to describe it.
That's hilarious.
He's not bad in this, but he's not good in this either.
Yeah, it's questionable.
So now old guy does this insane riddle of a bet, which I have recorded.
Now listen to me. We are going to have some fun. First we make the bet, then we go to my room here in the hotel where there is no wind, and I bet you cannot light this famous lighter of yours 10 times consecutively without missing once, huh?
So he says if he wins, he'll get his Jaguar car.
First off, I forgot to mention, when Cassie first said her name, I didn't hear it. I thought she said Tuffy. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? And I was like, oh, Cassie. Tuff.
Very classically similar names.
Because, it's like an old-ish, like, recording. The quality was so-so. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, people. So we have the gentleman that is next to our southern man, I suppose. And he's like,
and he's
this seems silly. And then Cassie's like, I think this is kind of dumb. Do we say what he's like betting on though? Like if he loses? He loses his left pinky.
Yeah, so
I think we forgot to mention that. It's like not just a car.
So Tommy says, what do I put up? And this guy's like, well, do you want me to make it easy for you? And he goes, yeah, make it easy for me. It's like this moment where it was almost flirty. It was really weird. Did you get that vibe? I don't know. That was okay. It was never anywhere else in the program. But that line, it was like, I think they were like, try a different read on it. That's what I always felt like it was.
Yeah.
It felt like a third take option. So he says, some small thing you can afford to give away, and if you did happen to lose it, you do not feel too bad. And I said, that reads like a prediction I've made on this podcast. Some small thing you can afford to give away, and if you did happen to lose it, you do not feel too bad.
That does sound like a Alicia prediction.
Tommy says, such as what? And the guy says, such as, and I'm going to play the audio clip here because of the audio cue that happens after he says, such as.
Such as the little finger of your left hand.
Isn't that delightful? That gave me a good kick. I did laugh at that a little bit. It was kind of funny.
Very dramatic, but
and Tommy's like, no, I'm good. Can we do $5 or $10? And the fancy guy calls him a coward. But then the lighter works twice outside. So Tommy's like, you know what? Sure. Who gives a shit? I don't need my pinky. Including an insane part later where he talks to his pinky like it's a person. We'll talk about that. We can't jump ahead, but that was wild.
God.
They spend a lot of time working out the details. Like, it almost felt like a BDSM negotiation.
Yeah.
This was the missing scene in 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes.
And the fancy guy is like, I'm going to tie your hand to the table so you don't pull away. They go see the car. I'm going to read this next note that I wrote word for word. So regular old guy is like, car is sick, and Cassie is like, but finger?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happened, but...
Yeah. Because, like, here's the other thing. First off, they're on vacation, so if you win this car, you're going to have to ship it.
That is a great point. I didn't even think about that.
Also, cars depreciate in value. So, like if this was more life-changing, maybe I could sympathize more with Tommy. But, like, this is literally a shit win. Not a great prize.
And I did try to research, like, how much this car would have been worth, and I could not have found any information at the time. And, like, the cars like this go for, like, $4,000 today. So. Yeah.
Well, back then, that could have been, pretty solid, though.
No, it probably wasn't. I mean, if he was going to sell it right away, it could have been nice. But
ship it? you know?
The old guy's like, well, he's not worth it, but they're obviously joking. They're not joking. Tommy accepts the bet, and Tommy and the fancy guy get regular dude to referee, and he agrees, but he's like, but I don't approve of it. And I'm like, just fucking leave.
Which was
You
also
don't-
wild. I would have walked away. I would have been like,
I would have. And also, it was wild how involved Cassie was in this, considering they met each other literally 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, that
I
was
would have
weird.
abandoned this guy within 5
Any
minutes.
stranger who was like, let's do a bet in my hotel room where I might chop off your finger.
I'm not.
I have a feeling he would chop it off. Like, my immediate thought would be, are you going to chop it off anyway? Are you going to kill me? Like, there's a lot of
and
red
at
flags
that point,
there that
if
I
your
would
friend
have.
is agreeing to the bet and you can't convince him out of it, that's not your fault. Like, it feels bad, but that's not your fault. Like, that's
not
that's their.
Not your circus, not your monkeys, you know?
Yeah.
So just...
So then there's a part 1 and part 2 function. It goes end of part 1, which is wild.
Yes. Wild choice.
So the fancy guy asks housekeeping for a hammer and nails and a chopping butcher's knife.
Doesn't blink an eye. Doesn't bat an eye at
And
that
she's like,
request.
of course.
She's
No
like, that's a
problem.
normal thing. Sure. No.
Tommy is talking to Cassie. Also, why I cannot imagine a hotel giving you a hammer and nails. I could see a chopping knife. He goes, you know, for chopping vegetables. That's what he says. But I could see a knife if they were cooking. But a hammer and nails, a hotel is never going to give that to you ever.
And a rope, right?
Oh, and a
'Cause they
rope,
also need
yeah.
a rope. Like, because again, hotels, things go down at hotels, okay? Especially a waterfront hotel, please. There's probably been some shady stuff. You're just going to willingly give all of these things. Especially if, like, there's one woman in the room with a bunch of men. That would make me a little sus, too. Like, I would have...
I was thinking about, I couldn't
Feelings.
imagine a hotel giving hammer and nails because they're like, what the fuck are you going to do to the hotel?
Yeah, they're like,
Are you
okay,
going to
also
install a
don't
shelf?
like, I'm gonna put up a beautiful painting.
I'm putting up an IKEA Kallax bookshelf.
Right.
So Tommy's talking to Cassie and he says, my pinky finger, he's like, my pinky finger is fucking useless. And he says, and I quote, here he is, and he hasn't done anything for me yet, so why shouldn't I bet him?
I hated
was like,
that.
girl,
that
you
might
need
have
to
been
leave.
genuinely. That might have been the creepiest part, and it wasn't even meant to be the creepiest part.
Observe one left little finger. Here he is. Here he is. And he hasn't ever done a thing for me yet, so why shouldn't I bet him?
I was like, it's more. I would like to know more about the psyche of this man.
Of Tommy, yeah.
Yeah, I want to know more about Tommy. The fact that he was so willing to just go into this bet. Because it happens kind of quickly, too. And again, we don't know
22
this.
minutes. All we know is he's a
lot.
medical sailing student.
Which also,
I'm
if he's
sure
a
clears
medical
it all
sailing
up.
student, when is he going to drive a fucking car? Also another question I
true.
have.
Great point.
Sa-
Aren't they supposed
sailing?
to leave
Do you know
in,
where
like,
you
2
are?
days?
You're in a fucking boat going to different places.
I
What
need
are
to
you
get my
gonna do with a
Jaguar
car?
on the boat.
He like drives from like the one end of the boat to the other. Anybody need a ride?
Like some like
Who wants to go to the mess
fucking-
hall?
like a fucking like 1920s governor. I feel like that's what those guys would do. You know what I mean?
Yes,
This is some
yes.
Henry Ford shit.
My God, yes.
So fancy guy, who's apparently named Carlos, makes a real show of tying his hand to the table. It takes a long time. And Cassie says,
I
look at
hated
him.
that.
Anyone think he's organizing party games? Because he's just so chill about it. But that line is so specific.
It is. God, I hate
Anyone
the way
would think
he
he's
like
organizing
formed.
party games.
I'm like, that. What a horrible line. That's so stupid.
Sorry, my chair went back further than I thought it would. And it scared me.
I did see some like spook in your eyes. I saw.
That was normally I have it so it stops about halfway back. I don't like it to lean back all the time, but I guess whatever thing I have lodged it, so it just kept going. This is normally.
I'm
as
not
far
gonna
as I can
lie.
lean back.
This might end up just between you and me, but if you had fallen off your chair, I would have been concerned. But I have like little gas in the tank ready to go. I would have farted from laughing so hard if I watched this. Just if you just went boop
I
and your
wish.
little legs were. I don't
would
want
be
that for
so
you
funny.
though.
No,
But I
it
did
would
just
be
imagine.
funny. Okay.
Little party game. Yeah, the way that this hand also
The way that Elaine
table,
paused it was like, personally, I need you to know if you fell off your chair, I would have farted.
It seemed farted.
It was important. I'm glad you told me.
It's not
Okay.
that important.
Okay.
The way this hand also, it's too much. We don't need nails, because he like divides the hand so that the nails are between like the ring finger and the thumb, so the pinky is out there, and then we've also tied it. I'm like, this is too aggressive. I'd be one thing, it's like, oh, hold down the hand or something, but this is practice and also makes me go, you're gonna lose this finger anyway. Again, this is what I'm thinking the whole time, like, this guy is not leaving without a finger even if he wins, because this is too easy of a bet, and he just wanted what if, you know, his whole thing is like, I want to chop off people's body parts, but I want people to watch. I mean, and I get a free lighter now. Like,
so
oh,
we spend a lot of time watching the lighter turn on and off and one guy ominously counting. This takes like 3 minutes.
It was kind of stressful. I will say this was kind of stressful and stupid at the same time. I was very conflicted.
I was like,
I skipped it. I like skipped through so I could see what would happen, so I wouldn't have to like deal with it. But yeah, it was awkwardly stressful.
Cassie grabs the lighter after 6 and goes, Tommy, stop! And then he's like, no. And then she immediately tries to run out the door. But Tommy's like, I want you here, babe. I'm like, girl, just
which is fucked up. Eat me right the fuck up is the energy that gave.
Yeah, it was very like,
stay.
I want you to eat me and love me and watch me get my pinky finger chopped off.
Like, why? I want you to have trauma. Tommy offers her a drink and she turns him down, and then he offers her something else. This is right when they meet, and she turns him down again, which also confused me because I was like, I don't see any world where you guys like each other.
Yeah,
like, especially Cassie liking Tommy. Tommy might like Cassie. Cassie does not like Tommy. What is she doing?
I mean, I get being stressed for a fellow human, and I also think in this situation I would try and stop it really hard too, and probably would. But I would also have given up before getting to the room. I probably would have called someone else. I would have called one of his friends to talk him out of it.
Yeah.
There were options that worked.
There were so many options, yeah.
I would have tattled. I would have been a narc.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
After 7, Carlos's wife comes home and starts yelling at him in Spanish after seeing what's going on. And Cassie immediately cuts Tommy 3, which I thought was wild because Tommy still didn't want to give up with it. Like, I was like, girl, let him be tied up. He didn't want to stop. And then his wife says, he's crazy. He's got 47 fingers from different people and has lost 11 cars. Fucking wild. He was going to be put away somewhere, which is why she brought him to Jamaica. And then Carlos goes, it was just a small bet. Honestly, this twist ending, I'm like, this isn't even a twist. This is just stupid.
It was so anticlimactic.
Yeah,
like, it was
she
so
just came in and was like, this is my stupid fucking husband.
Like, I feel like we're building tension, but then it just ends kind of like hunky-dory, like, yep. And so, it turns out he collected 47 fingers. You know, it would have been cool if, like, Cassie looks over, or, like, Tommy sees that, like, there's this display case, and he sees all these fingers this guy's collected, and then he realizes,
I think
this is a weird fucking thing.
A better thing would have been his finger gets chopped off. When it happens, like, he opens this box that is, like, a bunch of fingers inside.
Yes.
Right?
And then he's like, okay, and he tries to move his hand, because he's like, oh, it hurts, but, like, he can't. And the guy goes, well, while I have you here, and then he starts going. And then we zoom out of the hotel as we hear screaming.
Yeah.
And then fiend. I hate that I thought that, though. I hate that. But still better.
Well,
oh my god, but the ending, the more of the ending.
We'll talk about it. So, the white Jaguar is actually her car, and she says, that makes it worse, that he would bet when he has nothing to bet with. And she apparently won everything from him a while ago, and it was hard work, and the normal dude gives back the car keys, and she picks it up and has 2 fingers missing. But then as she's holding the car keys, she says again, it's even worse, he would bet when he has nothing to bet with. I'm like, girl, you just said that, right? Like, she repeated herself, all right?
Yeah.
And it's a very long shot of the hand. And also in, like, a white void, too. It wasn't, like, the hand wasn't in the environment, right?
I don't think so.
Crazy?
It was just funny, though, looking at the hand. So it's the ring finger and the pinky finger. But obviously they had to lose both fingers because the human hand cannot fully put down the pinky without putting down the ring finger. So they had to have her not have 2 of her fingers so the prosthetic could, like, cover the hand.
But also it made sense that she would lose 2. Like, I get it.
Because, like, she married him. Which I would have loved to have her tell her story of how she lost her fingers.
It would have
been one-liner suggestion, you know, like, just, it doesn't have to be the full story, but just like a quick, like, I don't know. Anyway, you know, not my story. But yeah, it was kind of like, oh, we're gonna just end with
this
the wife happens to walk in.
Yeah, it was just weird.
And the guy doesn't fight back either.
Yeah, he's just
I
like,
thought that was a
whatever.
little shocking. He's got a fucking butcher's knife in his hand.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But that's it. That's the end. That's
That's
Roald Dahl's
it.
Tales of the
That's a
Unexpected.
wild. I wrote down, I hate this so much. I would ditch this guy. I am so stressed. I wrote down, my cars depreciate. Why the fuck would you say yes to this bet? Why does the opening credits have dancing? That was my backwards to beginning.
Those are all your
ideas.
notes. That's impressive.
I have 1, 2,
Oh,
3,
no.
4, 5. I've got like 15 bullet points. A lot of them are just charming is the last
I
one.
probably have like 60.
My God.
But that's my job. That's my job.
I wonder if it's better written, if the tension's there more, because also it's hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't want to give benefit of the doubt there fully, but that also was shit acting. Let's be real.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
It wasn't great, and so I'm wondering if the like setting and stuff around it, if it makes it a little better, a little more
Maybe.
believable. Like,
Well, hey, if you guys like this, we can do a Man from the South retrospective and read the short story and do the Alfred Hitchcock collection of Fine, which is
why
the
would you
true
say?
Man from the South.
Don't say such things, Felicia. Take it back. Take it back.
Welp.
Wow.
Well, thank you everybody for listening to this episode
Yeah.
of Wonka Watch. Prequel predictions. I guess we have to do that now.
Prequel predictions. I'm gonna. What I said earlier. I think Noodle's gonna have one of the sad ballads.
I'm gonna put a swing out here. I think Wonka Watch will be mentioned in an interview with one of the creators of Wonka. I think our podcast will be brought up by an
Holy
intrepid
God.
reporter who's trying to bring up something new, you know?
I just burped out of stress from that. Like
You
the
didn't
good
fart.
kind of stress. It's like an adrenaline. My only reaction is adrenaline. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad.
Yeah.
That's how I felt when you first mentioned all of this. Adrenaline.
That's what I'm going to say. I think it might happen. I think there's a chance.
And the fact that, like, I think there's it's like a chance. It's not even like maybe.
Like, I'm not like, oh, we
there's a
deserve
chance.
it. I mean, I do feel like we put a lot of effort in, but like, I think after that magazine article, I kind of was like, I don't care. They're never going to know about us, and that's fine. After that article, I'm like, okay, if this is what they know as Wonka Watch, I'm going to be so mad. We better not be synonymous with the creepos. Like, I like,
yeah.
No. We will never go to the film set in person because we don't like leaving our houses, okay?
Yeah, like, let's be
very clear.
Really don't want to have to go beyond my home to do, like, hardcore Wonka things either.
Yeah,
Like,
we're
just-
haters. We're
keep
haters.
We hate it so much that we've decided to learn everything about it.
Yeah.
Obviously. That's how
haters.
that logic works.
Yeah. We are haters at heart. We are the cynic. We are when Timothée Chalamet said it's great to make a film for an uncynical young audience. We are the people he was calling out with saying that.
There's a reason we call it the Wonka rapture. It's
Okay,
it's not the Wonka dawning. It is the rapture.
It's not the
right?
Wonka heavenly ascension.
No. No.
Yeah.
It's the end of times.
Oh God. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to this episode of Wonka Watch. If you want to follow us, you can do so on TikTok and Instagram at Wonka Watch. And if you want to send us an email with any fun new opinions and shit like that, you can do so at wonkarapture@gmail.com. Also, if you want to support us, you can do so on buymeacoffee.com/WonkaWatch. Our Harvey Girls commentary track should probably be up by now, so you can go check that out. Listen to me. I had feelings about that movie. I did not have a great time watching it.
I will also say we immediately cuss. Like, this one is maybe if you don't want to listen to this in front of your parents or something. Family.
Yeah.
Like, we
were off the deep end. Our commentary tracks are us in the gutter. Like, if you
Yes.
because there's I never edit stuff out. A lot of times on the podcast, the really foul jokes, Elaine and I go, cut this out of the podcast, but I want to tell you what I'm thinking.
Yes.
On a commentary track, you can't do that. So you get all of our worst thoughts.
Yes. So enjoy it, but just, if there are certain people you would feel
Use discretion.
weird.
Use discretion.
Use discretion.
But yeah, no, we reveal the backstory of the Harvey Girls for us in our personal lives, and then have to watch a movie for an hour and 10 minutes that's kind of mid-tier at best. It's not a great film.
Our combos were hilarious, though. I had a great time watching it
Jessica
with you.
Mouth.
Jessica Mouth.
If you join our Buy Me a Coffee, you get access to all of our bonus content, and we sing you a little song. And we have 2 people today to celebrate. We have Raina, who is now a member, and John, who is now a member. And John said, "Thank you for the funniest podcast I've ever heard. As someone who's hyper-fixated on all the different versions of Cinderella all my life, it's scrumptious to know I'm not alone in my nerddom. I hope we all find therapy soon. Thank you."
Cinderella
And yes,
3.
I
best
am in
Cinderella
therapy,
movie.
guys. I got a good therapist. Big win.
Yay.
Genuinely big win. It's been great.
Anyway, Cinderella 3 though, best of the Cinderella movies.
Is that the one with
time jumping?
time jump? Oh, I don't
Best
think I've ever
one-
seen the time jumping one. I liked the second one where Anastasia got her
that's
got
also
a
a good one.
boyfriend. I liked that. Or Anastasia Drizella.
Oh, I think that is the time one, because then she becomes the main Cinderella foe. So they like banish Cinderella back in time to be the thing.
I think, but no, I saw the one that was like 3 stories in one, and didn't one of the mice become human in the second one?
Oh wow, I don't remember.
No, I think it's the second
that
one.
part. Anyway, the third one is a fucking banger. So,
Yeah.
John, look at the discourse you've got.
So the song we're doing today, and we're going back to our old roots of doing it via my microphone, is "Roundup on the Prairie." Right, great for the Harvey
God.
Girls.
Okay, I need to think of how I'm going to do this. Raina, we might be making a lot of horse things with your name. I hope you don't mind.
Made
Ooh.
to melt you.
I hate how sexual chocolate commercials are. I'm like, let's calm down. There was an old story round these here parts. The 2 pioneers of this lovely town. It's where we got our wagons and our stock. It was from the wild, wild west to the Sheriff John. And that wild cowboy, Raina. And everybody used to say that on that very fateful day, well, on the Wild West, the sheriff was always the best, and John knew how to wrangle up all the criminals. But Raina was the head of the criminal gang, and they robbed lots of trains. Yee-haw, but John was on the train, and he had such a little game, and Raina didn't understand and was found at hand. And then they were all arrested, but then they talked and shared their stories, and the drought, it ended, and they decided, let's be friends, and they created a beautiful town. And then that was kind of the plot of Holes at some point.
I think it was Holes.
Y'all, I love nothing more than a country western song that's mostly spoken word.
Oh no, same.
Like-
that one was a fucking banger. I'm gonna say "Roundup on the Prairie" by Aaron Kenny. Maybe
That
like
was
top 10 YouTube audio
Genuinely
library
amazing
tracks.
I love
Great
that. That might
track.
be like I would love to
spoken
like
word,
have my
too.
morning routine with that song in the background, and I might do it. Can you imagine?
Well, with that all being said, today's episode was so aggressively not important.
much.
Well, actually, the total
Well-
film stuff was kind of important, but honestly, like, it didn't even, like, I don't know. I feel like we've heard all the big Wonka news, and none of it has the same oomph anymore. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that would have felt a lot bigger, but, like a lot of it we kind of knew. It didn't feel huge. The Wonka Watch thing was just, like, the rudest tease on the planet, but, like, we're fine.
Yeah, no, I think that was the most like ugh thing. So, but yeah, it's just not that important. Left pinky fingers, not that important.
Left pinky fingers and this podcast, not that important. Though I would not give this podcast up in a bet for a Jaguar.
No.
I would not.
No.
Mostly because I can't drive at night because I get migraines, but also because I actually do like this podcast quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't want to pay like intense taxes on a fancy car. So
Yeah.
no,
It's not that important.
not that important at all. Yeah, goodbye, Stu.
Goodbye, stuff.
Goodbye, Stu.
Enjoy your you-less life. Bye, guys.
Bye.